Have you ever heard of a village where half the houses are just empty? Doors locked, nobody home. Well, it's a real place. It's a village in Gujarat, India, called Dingucha. Out of about 3,000 people, nearly 1,800 have just up and left. And they didn't just move to the next town over, they left the country entirely. But this story isn't really about empty houses. It's about what pushes people to take a desperate, and way too often, a deadly journey for a dream. This quote, man, it just cuts right to the heart of it, doesn't it? It shows you the sheer desperation that drove one family from that village, the Patels, to gamble absolutely everything. They weren't chasing some wild fantasy of fame and fortune. They just wanted a shot at a better life for their kids. And that simple, powerful hope is what fuels thousands upon thousands of these journeys. And just look at this timeline. Look how fast their dream completely fell apart. On January 12th, the Patel family gets on a plane to Canada, probably buzzing with hope and anxiety. Just 1 week later, an agent, the person they paid to help them, just abandons them in the freezing cold. And later that same day, their bodies are found, frozen to death, only 12 meters away from the U.S. border. 12 meters. So the story of the Patels it's a brutal way to start, but it's our window into this much larger, frankly terrifying phenomenon. Their tragic dream is really a snapshot of a dangerous, high-stakes gamble that thousands of people from India are taking every single year. So let's really break down this huge gap between the dream they were sold and the horrific reality they actually faced. I mean, the contrast here is just staggering. The dream for Jagdish Patel's wife, Vaishali, it was simple. She wanted to work in a beauty salon. The reality? She froze to death in minus 35-degree weather. They wanted a better education for their kids. The reality? Their journey ended a dozen steps from that goal. For a new life in America, they spent their family's entire life savings, 6.5 million rupees, only for that new life to be over before it even began. So how did they end up in that frozen field in the middle of nowhere? Well, they used a dangerous, illegal method that has a strange name, the donkey process. It's a term for this whole shadowy world of smugglers, and to really get what's going on, you have to understand how it works. So what is it? At its core, the donkey process, or a donkey flight, is basically a code word for illegal backdoor entry into a country. Simple as that. People who can't get a legal visa pay these agents, who are known as donkers, to smuggle them across borders. It's a whole underground industry, really, built on getting around the legal immigration system. And this whole process has actually changed over time. A decade ago, the main destination was the UK. People would often get a visa for one of the European countries in the Schengen zone and then figure out a way to cross into Britain. But today, that preference has totally shifted. The big prize now is the United States. And there are two main paths: the northern route through Canada, which is the one the Patels took, and an even more dangerous southern route through the jungles and deserts of Mexico. Now, don't think this is some informal arrangement. Oh no, it's a business. These agents offer different packages. The budget option might just get you dropped off near the border, leaving you to cross on your own, which is exactly what happened to the Patels. A deluxe package might get you forged documents and more hands-on help. And the cost? It's astronomical. We're talking anywhere from 2.5 to 6 million rupees. For most families, that means selling their land, their homes, their entire life savings. So, this brings us to the most important question, right? We've talked about the how, the process, the insane cost, the incredible danger. But that just begs a much, much deeper question. Why? Why would anyone risk their life savings, and literally their life, for a journey like this? Let's really dig into this. I mean, what could possibly be happening back home that makes trekking through a deadly jungle or a frozen field seem like the better option? The reasons are complicated for sure, but they usually boil down to three main drivers. So first, you've got the incredible pull of the American dream, that powerful idea that once you get to America, everything will be better. Second, and it's often tied to the first, is just crushing unemployment back home. And the third reason is persecution, people who are fleeing very real danger and discrimination. And to really get a sense of that unemployment problem, just look at these numbers. In September 2022, in a state like Haryana, which is a huge source for this migration, the rural unemployment rate was a jaw-dropping 37.3%. That's 4 times the national average. Think about that. When almost 4 out of every 10 people can't find a job, a path that threatens your life might start to look like the only path to a life. And the scale of this whole thing is just shocking. In just 1 year, From October 2022 to September 2023, almost 97,000 Indians were caught trying to cross into the U.S. illegally. This isn't a trickle of people, it's a flood, and it's getting bigger every single year. Okay, so you've paid the agent millions, you've said goodbye to your family, the journey begins. But what actually happens on that path? We know the northern route that the Patels took is deadly because of the brutal cold, but the southern route, through Mexico, well, that's a whole other category of horror. The journey from South America forces people through a place called the Darien Gap. It's a 100-kilometer stretch of roadless, lawless jungle controlled by drug cartels and armed groups. If you manage to survive that, then you face Mexico's scorching desert, and finally, the massive border wall. In 2021 alone, more than 650 people died just trying to cross the U.S.-Mexico border. It's officially the most dangerous land border on the planet. And listen to this quote. It's from someone who actually made it through. It's chilling. He talks about his dunker, his agent, shooting another migrant dead. He says, many people have lost lives like this, and that bodies can go undiscovered in the jungle for months. This isn't just a tough trip. It's a life-or-death gauntlet where the very person you paid to guide you might be the one who kills you. Okay, now here is a fascinating twist that most people do not realize. After surviving all of that, the jungle, the cartels, the desert, what's the very first thing most of these migrants do when they finally set foot across the border? They don't run. They don't hide. They actively search for Border Patrol officers so they can turn themselves in. The goal isn't to escape, it's to surrender. So why would you do that? Well, this surrender is all part of a strategy. The end goal is to claim asylum. U.S. law says anyone who is physically on American soil can ask for it if they face persecution back home for things like religion or political beliefs. But, and this is the key part, just wanting a better job or more money is not a valid reason for asylum. The whole process is incredibly long and difficult. You end up in a detention center, and the legal battle can take years. And that waiting period? It's brutal. This quote from a detainee pretty much says it all. You're locked up, you're not free, you're stuck in a room, often with tons of other people, for weeks, maybe months. The psychological toll is just immense. You survived the deadly journey, but now you're facing a different kind of prison. You know, the stories we've talked about, from the Patels freezing in the north to the asylum seekers in the southern deserts, these aren't just isolated incidents. They're all symptoms of a global crisis that is getting worse, fast. And the numbers are just staggering. Just look at this trend. In the 2020-21 period, about 30,000 Indians tried to make this journey. The very next year, that number more than doubled. And the year after that, it soared to almost 97,000. This isn't just a steady increase. This is exponential growth. And it tells you that whatever's pushing people out of their homes is only getting stronger. And so that leaves us with this final, kind of haunting question. We've seen the risks, the unbelievable cost, the almost guaranteed suffering, and the very, very real chance of death. So when a dream is this deadly, and people are still willing to take that gamble against all the odds, what does that tell us about the reality they feel so desperate to escape?